And howdy, howdy, howdy. How's everybody doing tonight? Three Can Keep a Secret podcast is live. And with me, as always, are my co hosts, Joey C. and
Hello,
Clearwater
everyone.
Chad. How we
Howdy.
doing tonight, gentlemen?
Excellent, excellent. How you doing tonight? Hello, Chad. Hello, John. How are you?
Very
Doing
good. Thank you.
I'm good. Finally got the arm unwrapped, so it's healing
Feeling
up
better?
nicely. Huh? Yeah, well.
Looking good. All
Yeah.
right. I got a surprise for you guys. Hope everybody likes it.
Nice.
Now, if we
That's
can just
good.
get Chad to get a haircut, we'll be in good shape.
I know. I was gonna get one today, but
How about the
Yeah.
weather report? Can we get that once in a while?
we got that. Okay, since Joey called it, we're gonna do the weather, folks. If everyone could sit down, pay attention, and listen to Clearwater Chat. We got the weather: 77 degrees in Florida, 0% precip. The wind's at 11, and it's 61% humid.
Very good. I love it.
Well, it's been since such a long time since I've talked to either of you. Any
Yeah.
news on the horizon there?
For me, no, just haven't heard nothing yet. I'm hoping to see that Stutter and John has been listening to us. I think maybe he might have. We'll see in the
Really?
next couple of days.
Okay.
I have a feeling people have been clipping him stuff, and he has to just open his email and listen to it. And
Yes.
Yep.
That's exactly what I'm saying.
he wants to know who that Poe on the go is and what his address is. That's what I
Oh,
was
he's coming for you, Poe. Look out. He's coming for you.
Oh yeah, it's
He's bringing he brings his cats across country too when he travels.
That's right. He does. Cats and all.
man. Just don't take him anywhere near Ohio. So you know,
Yeah, he better not mess with John Poe. That's all I can say.
I got a friend down there that lives in that city in Ohio, and they've confirmed to me that rumors that have been said not to be true are true.
Oh,
So.
great.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I had a long phone call today about that, and I was like, "Get out of here!" And they're like, "No, seriously, dude, you wouldn't believe it."
That's wow, fascinating, man. But let's get our job done and let's continue to strive forward on all parties.
Let's see. Let's check out. We got a pretty good crowd growing up in here tonight, watching got some of the folks from the Dabbleverse, some of the people from SPTV. So it's going to be a good night. Got our mods in here as always. So
Awesome.
I thought tonight, since it's been we're going to be talking a lot about cold cases and cases that have some really funky stuff going on with them. Let's talk about forensics and about the history of forensics and, where it all came from, who are the people who were the first ones to really get into it and what they brought to the table on this stuff. So what do you guys think?
I'm ready. I know that you're more of your area being a law enforcement, but I know a little bit, and I'm ready to learn some more stuff from you and through what you got for us tonight. So,
oh yeah, I love this stuff. This is my bread and butter here. So when you think about forensics, most people think about it as a modern kind of thing, that it's within the last 20, 30 years because we've had such amazing advancements. But when the people who are considered the forefathers of forensic science and police forensics, what years do you think those people were involved with it?
oh, are we talking the very beginning?
Yeah, when they first started using forensics for law enforcement.
I would probably say, was it at the end of the 80s, early 90s?
No. Let me get. Have you guys ever seen the movie Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp?
No, I have not.
Sleepy Hollow. He did a movie where it was basically it was Sleepy Hollow in 1999. He played a New York City police detective sent to a upstate New York, probably near where Chad was at, where there were a lot of unusual homicides that had been happening, and he was trying to use what was considered then modern day forensics. And to give you an idea, everybody was still traveling by horse and buggy at that time.
Oh, so we are talking 1800s and early 19th century, yeah.
Well, one of the people they consider the godfather of police forensics was Edmund Locard. And he established what is considered to be the first police crime lab in Lyon, France in 1910.
Wow.
So that was, think about it back then, the kind of forensics that they were using. I mean, this is literally in a time, how far away were they from when they were still leeching people to try to get infections out of them. So you look at it. Everybody thinks that George Washington had wooden teeth, but honestly, the teeth that he had were a mixture of horse teeth, teeth from slaves that he owned. Yeah, I mean, when they talk about his wooden teeth, and you actually see them cheaters that guy had. They were quite a concoction of things.
Wow, interesting though.
Yeah. Now, Chad, you've been DNA swabbed quite a few times, haven't you?
That's true.
How many times, Chad? I'm curious to know that. John keeps telling me about this, and I'm trying not to believe this too much. But what's going on with you?
Well, I probably shouldn't say for obvious reasons.
Well,
That he's but seriously, if you think that, let me explain a few things to the folks out there. If you get fingerprinted for any reason, and those fingerprints are, say, for a job, for a security check for a job, something like that, the minute that your prints hit the system, they're in the system forever. If the FBI wants to serve a warrant on, say, 23andMe or one of those, they can literally go in there and take the DNA evidence that they've got from everybody who has submitted DNA samples to them, and that'll go right into the system. Anytime that they take anything from you, whether it be fingerprints, DNA, anything that could be used to identify you, it doesn't come out of the system. All right. It's going to be in there, and there's going to be a record of it. There actually, some states have put laws in. I don't know about the federal government yet, but they have actual laws that are a way to get around, say, if someone sues the police department or the state about, I don't want my prints in the system. I don't want my DNA in the system. I didn't commit a crime, and they shouldn't have it in there. So in order to be able to keep all that information in the system, what they do is they pass laws that say that they must be kept in there as showing a true record of the transaction. So if you think that anytime your information has gone into the system, if you think it's not going to stay in there forever, you're out of your mind.
Can I ask a question, John?
Yeah.
When someone's falsely accused, even if they're sentenced and it's overturned, can they then request that to be wiped out of the system, or is that just permanently done once it's in the system?
Once it's in there, it's in there. You're not getting it out. And like I said, I know there are court cases where judges have actually ruled that they have to remove them from the system, and basically they're just like,
right.
Not gonna happen.
I got you.
So that's how it is. And the whole DNA world. What's crazy about it is, and I want to bring this up, is that a lot of people don't realize that there are parts of forensics is an ever-evolving kind of machine. There's always some change in it, things like that. One of the biggest things in the most contested areas in the whole forensics field is bite mark recognition. There are a lot of people who have been sent to prison simply because you had someone that considered themselves an expert on bite marks. But there are a great number of people, especially in the forensic community and in the medical industry, that are now saying that bite marks are not something that is reliable, and that they should be going back and they should be taking a look for other evidence other than bite marks that have been used to convict people. Because there have been cases where they've shown that bite marks that were positively identified by an expert as being bite marks of a certain person turned out to be bite marks from an animal, say a dog or a raccoon or something like that. But think about how many people have been sentenced to prison terms because of bite mark evidence. That's part of the real world we live in. I'm going to bring up this article here. And this is from NBC News. And it basically, what it's going to be doing is it's going to be outlining about how bite mark analysis has. And the title of it is "Bite Mark Analysis Has No Basis in Science, Experts Now Say. Why is it still being used in court?" And what brought this to my attention, I've always been kind of leery about the whole bite mark evidence thing. It wasn't until there was someone on the Joe Rogan Experience who was actually he was either an attorney or a former forensics expert that was like, it's all BS. So in this article, let's see, when was this article published? It's down here. This was just in January of this year. It's garbage, said Keith Harward, who spent 33 years in prison for sexual assault and murder based on bite mark evidence before DNA exonerated him.
Oh.
Think about that. 33 years in prison.
Wow.
And no matter what happens, no matter how much they put it out there and try to prove that it wasn't true or show that this guy didn't do something, he is always going to be looked at by people in his community as the person who did that.
Right. Very true.
Right. You know as well as I do. You get somebody that gets accused of something like that, there are people that don't care. Oh, I know the truth. You know, that's what he's looking at for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
You know, all because now there's, you know, they've come back and they're actually doing DNA testing on the evidence they had in his trial, and the guy is being proven innocent now. But he spent 33 years in prison.
Wow.
Now,
a lot of years, man.
Joey, think about it. He didn't go to a regular prison. He went to a hardcore prison if he went in there for SA and for homicide.
Yeah, he went to max, very max security, so no doubt about that.
That man had a hard life for 33 years.
Yes.
And how you can't give that time back?
No. Well, there's no amount of money, time. If they gave him tons of money, it wouldn't make up what he endured inside that prison for 33 years.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you think about it, even with that money, he's now if you saw in the video there, he's an older man. And let's see, it was a 1982 crime that he was convicted of. All right. We're talking pretty much prime of his life kind of stuff. He missed out on all of that.
Right. That's right. Did he have children? Was he married at the time?
I'm going to find out through here. I was looking at it for the basis of the bite mark analysis stuff, but now I'm getting even more interested. I think we may have to do an actual Three Can Keep a Secret episode on this guy.
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, former cop or not, when it's wrong, it's wrong. It doesn't matter to me if it's, whose side it's on or whatever. Wrong is wrong. Yeah. Let's see. Even now, as a free man, Keith Harward finds it hard to explain what it was like to sit in a courtroom on trial for SA and murder he knew he didn't commit. Watching someone considered an expert testify with certitude that bite marks on the victim's leg matched his teeth. I still, to this day, wonder what the hell just went on, he told NBC News at his home in North Carolina. Sometimes I break down and bawl because I can't explain to you or anybody else other than people who've been in my situation. Yeah. The amount of suffering this man went through because someone wanted to act like an expert and make some money. No evidence connected Harward to the horrific 1982 crime, but he happened to be among a group of sailors from a Navy ship in dry dock in Newport News, Virginia, who were required to give dental impressions since the assailant had been wearing a Navy uniform. Two forensic dentists told two separate juries that Harward's teeth matched to a scientific certainty a bite mark on the victim's skin. Harward spent 33 years in prison until, with the help of the Innocent Project, he was exonerated in a 2016 DNA evidence that pointed to another sailor as the killer.
Wow.
Terrible. My word. This is horrific.
Yeah, it is.
My goodness. Let's see here. It goes on to say 4 separate governmental specific bodies have concluded that bite mark analysis has no basis in science. That includes the President's Council of Advisors on Science and Technology. Boy, they're good at making up names, aren't they?
Yeah, they sure are.
Yeah, which said in 2016 that available scientific evidence strongly suggests that examiners not only cannot identify the source of the bite mark with reasonable accuracy, they cannot even consistently agree on whether an injury is a human bite mark. Like I was saying, they'll come in and say, yeah, that was Joey's bite. It matches his dental records. Come find out it was the neighbor's lab. You know, that it's sad. The National Institute of Standards and Technology, the gold standard for measurement of science, said in 2022 that bite mark forensics lacks a sufficient scientific foundation because human dental patterns have not been shown to be unique at the individual level.
And you said the very first forensic was 1910. And what year did they start going with this bite mark analysis? So how many years was there that they used it to find out it wasn't science?
Let me see. I had that up, but I clicked on the on that article there. Bite mark. Let's see. Well, I mean, if you look at it, they say 1962 during the Salem witch trials.
No, okay.
So let's see. Yeah, they're saying all the way back to 1870, Ohio versus Robinson. The case involved A.I. Robinson, a well-regarded member of his community, suspected of murdering his mistress.
So you're talking well over close to 150 years it could have been available to be used, and there could be thousands of cases that they didn't even redo. That's it. Just blows me away. 150 years to decide. Well, now it's not scientific. I mean, come on, they got to do better than that. You know what I'm saying? It's just terrible.
Well, the problem is that it grew such popularity that anyone who said, well, there's something not right with that, they were literally looked at as though it was, they were doing pseudoscience, stuff like that. They were literally coming out and calling people fraudsters, and that they didn't know what they were talking about. They didn't have the credentials to be talking about whether or not bite marks were legitimate or not. Basically a lot of the same stuff you're seeing with people nowadays. Like, you have the guy who's showing actual evidence that, there are carvings and there are pieces to the pyramids that date earlier than they previously said the Egyptians were there. What are they doing? They're doing everything they can to go against this guy. And the reason for that is once these people get into these positions and they're considered authorities and experts and the people in power, they're going to hold on to that for as long as they can.
That's true.
And what it really comes down to is money and power. That's where it goes, because they can sit there and say, what do you know?
Well, doesn't everything come down to, excuse me, my headset is kind of trapped somewhere and I gotta find where it's at. Oh my God.
Thanks, Rick.
I found the sound that I was having. My other half of my earpiece was sitting down on the floor and something was on it very heavy, and now it went away. So there we go.
To jerk your ear off there, huh?
Oh my God, it was driving me nuts. Thank you.
I just can't believe that that's the only thing they would. Usually, you'd want something else besides the teeth prints. You'd want a witness or some at least blood evidence.
And that's the problem is that they got to the point where they had no other evidence, like in the case with this guy, where they had nothing else other than they made them all give a dental impression because the person who committed the crime was wearing a naval uniform.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reality of the situation. And like it said, and I've been saying it before, I heard this years ago, that there had been cases where a defense attorney had shown a bite mark pattern to an expert and said, can you tell by this if it's a man, a woman, a child, an adult? And the person sat there and they was looking at it and goes, 100% that's a male in his early to mid 20s. And the defense attorney said, really? Because my dog did this yesterday.
Wow.
So, Joey, you got no sound.
Hello?
There you are.
There you go.
All right.
So, but yeah, I mean, that's the reality of how these things are, how these things go. And DNA evidence and all that stuff is finally coming back, is finally showing itself in the right light now. They're they're finally coming up with the good DNA principles that they're using with things. They're using the right technology. And what I find most impressive is that just like with this guy, you now have people that are being exonerated and that have spent decades in prison, and they're now coming back and saying, no, that's not that person at all.
Yeah.
So I wanted to show a couple of clips here. This one, neither one of them are real recent, but they're pretty good. Here we go. This is from ABC 10 News, and it says murder conviction overturned due to DNA analysis.
A man convicted of murder in Barrio Logan will now be getting out of prison decades before his scheduled release, all thanks to changes in DNA standards.
Team 10 investigator Melissa Masiha was the only camera in the courtroom, and she shows us the circumstances that led to Donnell Fulcher's freedom.
And they are interesting circumstances. I just got back from court here within the past hour. Donnell Fulcher will be getting out today or tomorrow. Now, here's the background. A jury found Fulcher guilty of a 2006 murder in Barrio Logan. He already exhausted all his appeals and was serving a 40-year to life sentence for that murder. But recently, the district attorney's office, their review unit, their conviction review unit, looked over this case. That's because the case relied heavily on what's called a DNA mixture, meaning two or more sources on a DNA sample. Since Fulcher's conviction, the top forensic science organization issued DNA guidelines that are now more conservative. Because of that, the DA's office agreed to give Fulcher a new trial. Instead, today, this afternoon, he entered a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and assault with a firearm, crimes that carried a 14-year sentence. Instead, he received time served because he's already spent that much time behind bars.
We still believe that we had the right guy, but we lost confidence in the conviction. So we wanted to give the defendant a chance to have a new trial if he wanted. He chose to plead guilty instead. So at the end of the day, I believe justice was done.
Well, I don't think you can put any limit on the happiness that going free can have for someone who's serving a life sentence. He is very, very happy. This is happy. His family is very happy. This is really a joyous moment for all of them.
Again, he will receive freedom today or tomorrow. To get this opportunity is extremely rare. This would have been his third trial. The first one was a mistrial. The second, his conviction. Fulcher has always maintained his innocence.
Well, I don't know about his innocence, but the reason why I brought that one, I wanted to start off with that one, was because it did two things. Number one, it actually showed that the DAs, the states, even the federal government are now looking at DNA evidence in a different light, and they're starting to ratchet in on you can't just go this route, you can't go that route. You have to start, using some reasonable things there. And so I wanted to start with that one because this guy pled guilty to a lesser crime on it. It doesn't mean that he was innocent of being part of it, but what it does is it shows that they're willing to at least make the changes now. And this guy is like, I've already served all this time, they're willing to offer me this and I get out tomorrow, I'll do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, what do you think about that?
Well, I think you're right on the nose there. I mean, he had a life sentence, obviously, and if I had a life sentence and they brought me this new trial or new evidence that they're going to exonerate me on the life sentence, but here's the catch: you got to plead to the manslaughter. You're going to get time served. You get out. There's nobody in their right mind would say, "No, let's go to trial. I want to wait and I'm going to prove myself in it." Not after doing what at the time he did. So whether he did it, participate, we really don't know. They seem competent. If a third trial went, they would have got the conviction. We don't know, but I think he took the right road. Based that he was locked up for a lot of years, and he did what he thought was best for him at that time. So
he did for hard on that one, and I think he realized that this was one of those things that he could actually think about it. He has a chance for freedom now if he pleads guilty, or if he tries and fights it and goes back to trial, and they end up actually convicting him on it again. Then he's looking at no chance of getting out. So
Correct.
I'd do the same thing, you know.
And if he's really reformed himself, like we hope, he's
Yeah.
going to get out and start his life correct and just enjoy the rest of it. I mean, it's an unfortunate. There are a lot of people that go through the innocent projects that are completely innocent that get totally exonerate. And I know it takes 10, 15 years before they even get started on a case like that. So anybody's got to put at least 10 to 15 years in before they're even considered, I believe, for innocent project. But it's nice to see when someone is exonerated because they didn't do the crime. It's always nice to see that. So.
Yeah, that's you know, and that's the thing is that when you start looking through a lot of these crimes, you know, I mean, especially there were a lot of, and I'm going to say it, some people may not like it, but there were a lot of black men got convicted of essaying when it was never an essay situation. And you had a ton of people, especially down south, you know, the old good old boys that get in there and they'd be like, oh yeah, I know it. He's always been a filthy pervert and all that stuff. And, you know, end up getting these guys convicted, sent to prison when they were actually in a consensual situation. But here it is, the female that was part of it, you know, she's going to lose face in the community. Her family's going to look bad. Right. So they change it over to that. And next thing you know, that this person's going to spend the rest of their life behind bars because people were embarrassed by you know, two people getting together.
Did you hear a couple of years ago, some black gentleman who spent like 30 plus years in for the same type of crime? He was just walking by in this neighborhood of it was a rich neighborhood, white woman. He was charged with it. He was convicted. He's the guy that he did where they, you know, the Star Search thing with he actually was, when he got out, he liked to sing and his dream was to be a professional singer. So I think he won that a couple of years ago, but he was totally exonerated. It was another guy that was already in jail doing another prison sentence that did it to this woman. And because of her being rich and who her husband was, and the sheriff was tied into him, they even had the sheriff had made people go on the stands and lie on the stands. They proved that, you know, back in those days. And he got out after 30 something years, and he was in the state of Mississippi, and they only have a set amount that they give somebody that they wrongly convict. I think he got $100,000 for 30 years.
Really?
Yeah, Mississippi is one of the states that gives you nothing. They have.
I wonder how if you could take that to the federal court.
I don't know about that, but that's one of the only states that they refuse to change it.
Oh, yeah.
They refuse it. So.
Well, you know, I mean that Mississippi's known for its.
Yes, it is.
You know, so Chad, what you thinking so far?
Right. Well, if he was guilty, that seems like a good deal. But if he was innocent, right. Well, they should have paid him. They should have sued, and that's how I feel about that.
Yeah, I think that, but you know, again, like Joey was saying, there's no amount of money that's going to make up for all that time lost.
Sure.
You know, and this guy right here, like we were saying, you know, I mean, it's a double-edged sword because on one hand, if the guy's innocent, yeah, he could go and he could fight it, but he could take a chance on getting his butt put back in prison for the rest of his life. Yeah. Or he just takes a guilty verdict, a guilty plea on it, and he walks free tomorrow. Yeah. That's a no-brainer for me, and I know it's a no-brainer for Joe. We'll, you know, be right out the door.
I think you hit it right on the head, John. He had to be involved somewhere in this case, so he knew he better take the out while he's got the offer, because if another trial comes out, he knew other things were going to come out. And like you said, all he's doing is getting the life sentence reduced, and he's going to get convicted and still stay in prison for another 20, 30 years and could die in prison. So, so I believe that he took the best decision based on he was probably involved in this case at some point for something.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is that his DNA came up in what they called a cocktail. Yeah, and it's basically a mixture of different DNAs that were in there, but they had enough to actually point him out in it. So that right there in and of itself, I mean, yeah, he probably was. Yeah. And he took the proper verdict on it and, you know, took the plea to get out of that so he can get out of prison. Hopefully he has learned and comes out a changed man, and he, you know, works to better his community other than, you know, rather than being part of the life he was before. So, and, you know, talking about what we were about, how things get blown out. Here's one on an actual essay that happened where it was overturned. And this one is from KATU News. All right, let's get this going.
Top story.
It just feels good to be free.
17 years behind bars for a brutal crime they say they did not commit. Well, tonight, 2 Clark County men are free and they're starting over again. New DNA analysis prompts a Clark County judge to throw out the rape convictions against Alan Northrup and Larry Davis.
K2's Anna Song is live at the courthouse in Vancouver where this happened today. And Anna, this goes back to a case from 1993.
Yeah, a case in which a 36-year-old housekeeper was raped in a home in Liz Center, but new DNA technology points to the innocence of these 2 men.
I'm just overwhelmed with the joy. You know, it's pretty awesome.
And here's why. After 17 years, they were the words Alan Northrup and Larry Davis hoped to hear. Their rape convictions vacated by a Clark County judge, citing new DNA analysis, suggesting neither man was responsible or even present when the crime happened.
And this is for all you people out there in the world that didn't believe. You can believe now. You know what I'm saying?
The turnaround comes 8 years after a nonprofit group out of Seattle took up their case and convinced the court to retest the DNA gathered from the rape victim back in 1993. Back then, technology did not allow for analysis of such small amounts of DNA.
This does raise the possibility that if they didn't do it, then there are perhaps 1 or 2 other people who did. That's absolutely right.
Since the DNA does not match either man, prosecutors must now try to figure out who it belongs to.
So what we're trying to do is identify individuals, males in particular, who may have lived at the house at the time. We've identified one of those people, and we're in the process of getting a tissue sample from him so we can go ahead and have a DNA profile done.
What is apparent is the time lost. Kayla Northrup was 6 when her father, Alan, went to prison.
I don't know my dad. And he doesn't know his granddaughter either.
And Winnebago told me he was not guilty. It's a sad situation that it happened that way.
17 years, gone, never to be regained.
Got a lot of catching up to do. You know, it's almost like you have to get to know people again. And, you know, you come from one world to this one here, and it's like, you know, a lot of things to learn. It's like starting over.
The judge has set a new trial date for July. Now, the prosecutor tells me they will run, or they have run, actually, the 2 DNA profiles through the Washington State Criminal DNA Database. So far, no hits. As for Larry Davis, well, he plans to go fishing soon. Reporting live here in Vancouver, Anna Song, K2 News.
A lot of life to make up, and thanks, Anna.
I mean, here we got another case where, you know, bad investigations, bad technology, the wrong people go to jail. This guy had his daughter was 6 years old when he went into prison.
Yeah, 17. So she's 23 years old. Well,
yeah.
So,
you know, he missed out on all that. He didn't get to watch her grown up. Didn't get to bond with his child like a parent should. And you know, his ex-girlfriend, I mean, think about all those years that she sat there, you know, even though she says that they knew he was innocent the whole time, it's always running through the back of her head.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and you know, this guy, like I was saying before, it doesn't matter that he was innocent or not. Right. That doesn't matter, because in the eyes of many people in the community, he's always going to be that person.
He was always considered a person of interest. He's the one that got chosen, and you're right. He's never going to get that off his back. The people, there's going to be people that are going to look at him. There's no way they made a mistake letting him out. He's the guy we know. And here's the thing. I understand that when people go to prison and they go years, and if it's a male or a woman, you know, 17 years is a lot of years for that woman or man to wait for an individual. So if she fell in love with somebody else, or he would vice versa, now you come back and this might be your first love, or the man that you had kids with, you might not feel the same way 17 years later. So he loses that. He's definitely, when you go into prison with a rape conviction or a child, anything with children, you're living in hell. I promise you that. You are getting raped. You're getting beat daily. You're getting a lot of things. So his whole life has changed. He's so right about he's got to readjust. Now his life has changed. He's going to bring that. He's always going to have that in his head, what happened to him in prison, and he's going to be a different person at home, which could make him into a monster that way. You know what I'm saying? So,
well, and think about it also when you think about, I mean, even if he was, and it wasn't, you know, it was something else. He spent those years in prison, and now he's out. He comes out institutionalized.
Absolutely, 110%.
I can tell you when I came out of the Army, how hard it was for me to adjust to civilian life.
Of course.
Yep.
You know, where everything that you do is scheduled, you have a time limit on stuff. You know, it's all about the discipline. It's all about doing as you're told. You know, think about in that situation coming out of that and having
Right.
to come back into the real world where there's no limits.
That's right. I know it's he's definitely institutionalized. It's very hard not to be with that many years in. I mean, even 10 plus years, you're going to be pretty much institutionalized. You get 20 years, 30 years in, forget it. And you get out. Unfortunately, you're so scared of society and what the world has grown to, and you don't have the power you had. You understand? A lot of guys go in there when they get a lot of power in prison, and they feel important. They're somebody. They control stuff. And when they get out and they're back to, you know, I'm just a little average person. They don't want that. They want the power. So they put themselves back. I think the rate is less than a year. Anybody with a lot of longevity in prison probably bounce back and goes back to prison, guaranteed almost 90%. I think to go back to prison if they serve that many years.
I think one of the best things that I'd seen where they're talking, you know, showing how that is towards the end of the Shawshank Redemption, the Morgan Freeman character, when he gets released and he goes from being somebody that everybody went to if you needed something while you're in there, he could get it in for you and all that, to now he's a bagger at a grocery store.
Yeah.
And he actually gets to the point where, like the person who'd been there before him, he's ready to off himself because he can't handle being out there in that world.
Correct.
And then I don't know, Joe, you might agree or disagree with this, but Matt Cox that Poe and I both know, when he said when he got out of prison, you know, like they don't do things in prison like say please and thank you and be like, or, you know what I mean? So it was a big adjustment to be you know, to be you know, on the streets again and talk to people differently with respect and stuff.
Well, it's actually the opposite. In prison, you have to do. Excuse me. If someone simply bumps into you in a line, you're walking. Your best action is this: if you bump it, is to turn right away, square, look at me, and say, "I'm really sorry. Excuse me." They'll say, "No problem." You know, if you try to get tough with that person, and when he says something to you, so respect is big in prison. You must. To earn it, you must show it. You must say, please, thank you. You don't sit at someone's chair at a table. That's the first rule. You got cliques in prison that if a table belongs to this gang, if a table belongs to this gang, you don't sit down where you're not supposed to be. And let me tell you something, a new guy going in, there's nobody going to come up and say, come on, buddy, I'm going to take you out and let me show you how it works here. It don't happen like that. You better just use common sense and know and look and observe and say, well, I definitely don't fit in with that group, so I'm not going to say, you know, you got to know, because it's simple sitting in somebody's wrong chair could get you killed in prison. They take that step so serious, what the rules they have in prison. You do one simple, small mistake could cost you your life.
Yeah. There's a hierarchy there, just like in so many different situations.
Absolutely.
And you have them based on, oh my goodness, you have all the different, well, like you said, cliques that are in there, or the prison gangs that, you know, and they all have their set criteria as to whether or not you can be part of it. And if you don't match with any of them, boy, I tell you what, being a freelancer out there be pretty interesting.
I do tell you a funny thing that I know that happened for a fact in Florida State Prison. There's a group of guys when the new bus comes in with the new inmates that have a bag of goodies for the new inmates, and they'll say, "Here, till you get your commissary situation, get family to send you money. Here's some you know, chips and some cookies and here's a good toothbrush, some toothpaste, some mouthwash. Don't worry about it, you don't owe me nothing." 3-4 weeks down the road later, when you get established, they know you got money on your books. They come to your cell and say, "You got that money you owe me for that package I gave you?" And you say, "What are you talking about? You said it was a gift." "No, I didn't. You will pay me my money or else you got problems." And now if you don't know how to handle that situation, and you don't, you're going to be passed around from gang to gang, and you got a lot of problems. So they put you in a situation that you're going to have to live or die at that point. So it's either they're going to take your life or you're going to take their, and it just keeps getting stickier and stickier. So that's why the best policy is when you go in, if you've never been there, make yourself observant, be commonly respectful, and if anybody gets in your face, you have to deal with it right then and there. You cannot let it go any further than that.
Well, that's going to be one of the worst things you're going to have is if you don't stand up
You're done.
Even if you get the beat down, the fact that you're not willing to stand up for yourself makes you a target. So
You're done. You'll be done if you don't at that moment, and they will happen. It will happen whether it's the first day, a week later, a month later. When it happens, you must be ready to whatever happens to you. You got to. You can't think about outside. That's the worst thing you do. You can't think about your wife. You can't think about your kids. You have to tell your mind that you have nobody. And all you got is yourself to survive. If you go in with that, like John said, if they beat you down, put you in the infirmary for 6 months, it's okay. You walk out of there, you are a hero in the yard. You got more respect than anybody. Especially you didn't rat. You took the beating, you fought back, you stuck up for yourself, and you came back. Nobody bothers you from that point on.
Plus, you got 6 months in the infirmary.
Exactly. So,
yeah, that beat down's going to hurt, but you know
and
what?
for the layman's, can we say what the infirmary is, guys?
That's the prison hospital.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep. Yeah, that's where you get banged up. That's where they're going to send you. And from what I've seen, they're not exactly the nicest and the most best bedside manner there is. So.
Or the best doctors. They usually get the lowest quality doctors that lost their license in other places. So,
wow.
Yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, it's but that's a reality of it is that once you go into prison, you're property of the state.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah. And I just saw a report where they were talking about they've been allowing people into, if you identify as a woman, they've been allowing them to be housed in women's prisons. And there's been an upturn in pregnancies in those prisons. Now those people are being the men who claim to be a woman that ended up impregnating female prisoners. They're going to be facing SA charges. And the reason for it is under most state laws, you don't have the ability to consent because you are property of the state and the state says it's wrong. So these are, it's really wild how the prison systems work. And, but I tell you what, talk to Nasty Nathaniel. He spent a night in the jail there in Bangkok. In Manila in the Philippines. And what he had to say about that compared to what it's like in U.S. jails, he said he would rather be in U.S. jails any day of the week than be in there.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. That's a whole episode there.
Yeah. Yeah. I've been wanting to get him on and have him talk about it. What he did was he went in to actually document what it was like in that system. And that's how he saw what was going on with it. So, yeah, I mean, all you got to do is watch the show Locked Up Abroad and see what they show about the different, prison systems outside the United States and just how bad they are. So it's scary stuff. You ever watch any of that, Joey?
I've watched shows like that talk about different. I've seen shows where they show different prisons in different countries, and I would say I agree that U.S. is a day club compared to some of the prisons in other foreign countries. Most definitely.
Yeah. And Jen, I think I don't know much about the Thai prison system, but Nasty and I were talking about it, and he'd actually gone in and he got permission to go in to document what it's like in the jails there. And this is just the city jail, not the actual prison itself. And he couldn't believe how horrible it was. Yeah, I mean, there are countries out there that if you don't have friends or family bringing you food, you don't eat in prison.
No,
it's that simple. So
food's just as horrible in USA. If anybody wants to know, some of it you can't even serve to your dog. Trust me when I tell you.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, you think of I can tell you right now they went out and they privatized the prison food system here in Michigan, and the company that was doing it. Well, they had an independent company went in and started checking the food, and they were finding that most of the food was not legal to serve to human beings.
That's true.
And that was all because the state wanted to save money on, we can get this company to come in and we're going to pay them a third of what it's costing us to feed our own prisoners. Okay, so we'll do it. It's like when they start opening these private jails that are out there, and then they start watching that the unaliving rate for people increases dramatically. And it's all because when it starts becoming a privatized thing, they have all these people, all these companies that are running it, and all they think about is how much money they can squeeze out of each and everything that they do.
Absolutely.
You know, so yeah, the recommendation is we have 20 officers on this block for this time frame, but you know what? We've been able to do it with 5.
Yeah.
Oh wow, we had 5 prisoners that didn't make it to the morning alive. Wow. I can't believe they did that to themselves.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. I think Jeffrey Epstein was one of those. So
Yeah, he probably will. You know, but about the food that you're saying, they found boxes of food in the walk-in freezer of chicken patties they were serving us that had a 2-year expiration mark on it, and they were still using it. You know, it's horrible what they do to prisoners. It's horrible.
Well, they had an outbreak at one of the jails here in one of the prisons here in Michigan of sickness, food poisoning.
Yes.
And when they went in, they checked it. You know, these folks were, you know, the company came in and they're like, oh no, we got to get all this stuff out of here right now. We're bringing all new stuff in. They caught them in the act of trying to throw out the food. And a lot of it was moldy. It was stuff that was clearly marked not for human consumption. It was cattle feed or it was animal feed. And they were feeding this to prisoners.
Yep.
You know, but I guarantee you, to this day, nobody's gone to jail for it.
Nobody. I can guarantee you that. Not in the USA that I've heard of, but it's horrible, man. I mean, there was days that when waiting to go out to the camp I was assigned to at Coleman Prison, the county jail. I just take one look at it and say, that ain't even edible. I don't want it. I don't care. I'm not eating it.
Let me tell you, there's a city that a police department I went to, and we went to pick up someone that they had arrested on a warrant from us.
Yeah.
And when I got there, the watch commander was opening up a microwave behind the commander's desk, and I watched him pull out a package that looked like a lunch meat package, and literally this guy pulls it out, opens it up, hasn't washed his hands, doesn't have gloves on, isn't using utensils, literally has laid out pieces of bread, and he's taking these pieces of salami he just microwaved, putting one piece of salami on a piece of bread, and then squirting a ton of mustard on top of it, throwing another piece of bread on top of it, giving them those little kids juice things, they look like a little plastic barrel, giving them those and a sandwich, and that was considered their dinner.
Yep. Had it many nights.
Yeah.
Wow.
I mean, I'm thankful the city that I started off with, the city I retired from, the way we did it, we had an actual local restaurant that was paid. They got a sandwich and a coffee for breakfast. They got something a little more filling for lunch, and then they got an actual dinner for dinner. Yeah. But how many places are doing that?
None. Not too many. The first one I ever heard of. You got to stay away from the Jim Jones juice. They call it the Jim Jones juice. They put certain chemicals in those juices that keep men from getting excited.
Really?
Yes.
Oh
wow. So like they used to talk about saltpeter in the army.
That's what they put in it. The Jim Jones. That's why they nicknamed it Jim Jones. The inmates. And that's exactly what it is. It's saltpeter inside the juice packets and the coffee packets. Yeah.
Wow. I don't know what I'd do without my coffee.
Yeah.
Lord have mercy.
So that's why you got commissary, and you go buy you buy what you like, because they have a good different brands of coffee on commissary that you're accustomed to use in big bags. Expensive. You pay $9-10 for a bag that you would pay $5 in the store, but if you want it, you got to pay for it. So.
Well, it's just like any such, like when my mother, she was born in a coal mining camp, and you didn't get paid actual dollars. You got paid what were called company chips. And so, you went in and you bought a bag of flour that would cost you 10 cents in the outside world. You're paying $5 for it there in the company store. Yeah. And you literally couldn't do anything about it, because that money that they gave you couldn't use outside of the coal mining camps.
Right.
So, I mean, if they're doing that in a situation like a coal mining camp, think about what they're doing in the prison commissary.
Exactly. Yes.
And I mean, you talk about places that are made to strip every bit of cost off of anything that they do. You're telling me they've got to charge 10 times the normal amount for food that you could buy there, or a toothbrush? Come on. Let's see.
Interesting.
Wow. No, I don't think they're getting that unless someone in there's putting it in.
No. If you're getting that, you're getting that from an inmate or someone that's trying to take you out. You know.
Yeah. And I tell you what, the things that I've seen, and when I remember we picked a guy up at Carson City Penitentiary here in Michigan. Had to bring him down because he was having he was a witness on another case. And I know what he was doing. He was ratting out somebody just so he could he could end up trying to get himself out of jail. And so we were told, bring him down. I mean, this guy got treated like he was staying at a hotel when we brought him down. He had, nice blankets, nice pillows, all those things. They brought him in a nice suit, got him got him showered up, looking good. After it was over with, they bring him back. They put him back in the same clothes he was wearing when he left. And the whole point of it was to make it look like he hadn't come to testify, that they brought him down here because they were trying to hook him up on something else.
Yep.
And I remember when we got him back there, as we were going in, I'm looking around in the entry to the prison, when you first go in behind the doors, and they had this wall with all these different weapons that prisoners had made while they were in there. And I looked at it, and I looked at the guard there, and I go, that's just insane. He goes, people with time, what else do you expect?
Absolutely.
All they got is time on their hands.
Interesting question in the chat room from Articulate John. What is a lock in a sock? Basically,
oh, Lord.
In a lot of prisons, they use Coca-Cola cans, or Pepsi is what we were allowed to get. You just put a couple Pepsi cans in a sock, tie it. When you know someone's coming after you, you whack somebody with that a couple of times and break their teeth out, break their nose. Yeah, that's a lock in a sock there, pal. That's what it's used for.
Now, did you ever did you guys use soap as well? Soap?
Yes, bar soap is very effective. Couple pieces of bar soap in a sock would definitely. And there's something about if you hit them in the right place, you don't see outside bruises. It's all internal. That's the other thing that some prisons got cameras in every aspect of a corner. I know they can't put cameras in the bathrooms; they're not allowed, but they do cover pretty good angle. So you pretty much a lot of fights happen in the shower area, in the bathroom. Because that's what, especially if it's two guys are squaring off, they'll say, take that to the bathroom so it ain't a camera. We don't get no heat here. Because if you get in a fight and then you didn't start it and you didn't go to the bathroom, you're just as guilty of bringing the heat down. Now they're going to search the dorm and you're going to get a shakedown. And if anybody gets caught that's a drug dealer in there or someone selling cell phone and you're the cause that you could have prevented it, you got problems. I'm going to tell you right now, there's a lot of factors here being in prison. You could just be a guy that never speaks and be polite as can be and walk and do everything you're supposed to, but you don't do the right thing for inside there. A choice you might not make on the outside, but you must do it inside. You can cause yourself a lot of problems.
Oh, yeah. I remember when I was in the Army, and I'm not trying to compare it, but we had something that was it was one of the things they used to do, and it was talked about quite often, was a blanket party.
Yes.
So, Chad, you have any idea what that is?
Nope, not this time, Po.
All right. Well, most everybody sleeps in bunk beds. All right. So blanket party is literally they come in, they bring a blanket down over top of you so you can't move your arms or legs. And then they either use soap, a lock, or a can, like Joey was saying, in a sock. And they just wail the daylights out of your midsection there because you don't show bruising like you would normally.
That's right. Very true.
But that's a way to teach people a lesson. So
you got to think, Chad, in the harder corporate, in the actual maximum security, even the medium, the first thing when you talk to somebody, let's say first time in, and you got a bunkie that's experienced, and he'll try to, because you're his cellie, he's going to try to educate you the quickest version he can. But the first thing he's going to tell you, if you're in a hardcore place, you better make yourself a shank, and I mean like right now, tonight, to have it in your bed with you. Because I'm not going to, if you start something, I'm not going to defend you. If you're right or wrong, I'm not getting involved. It ain't my business. So just know that I'm your cellie, but I can't get involved. You understand? So you better learn quick how to be. Can you fight? You ever? No, I don't. Well, you better learn quick how to make a shank, because when they come at you, you better try to kill them, because they're going to kill you. And that's the word advice you're going to get from somebody. And that's just it. Fact is fact. You can't leave the door. You can't run to mama. You can't run to daddy. You can't run to anybody. The doors are locked. You're in there. You're stuck.
It's like the old saying, time to man up or nut up.
That's right.
You gotta do it. And T, What's going on? I hadn't heard anything. I haven't been in the loop as of lately on a lot of things that are going on. So shoot me a message on Facebook. Let me know what's going on there, hon. So T, she's from Perth, Australia, and
very
she's one of the folks in the SPTV world there, the anti-Scientology world.
Nice.
And she was just making a comment that all's good. Police are going to investigate. So I'm just trying to see what's going on there. So yeah, she's real good people.
Yeah.
She put together, well, no, she was part of a group that decided they were going to protest Scientology in Melbourne, and did a great job out there. We actually ran it live on a bunch of channels for them. So real good people. She's been on.
Very nice to see the people here. Thank you.
So, but I want to talk a little bit more about our good friend Edmund Locard. And so basically what it says is he founded the first police crime laboratory in 1910 in Lyon, France. It is impossible for criminals to flee a crime scene without leaving behind traces of evidence that can be used to identify them, according to Locard's exchange principle. This concept served as the foundation for forensic sciences, a body of methods for collecting and analyzing physical evidence from crime scenes. The Sherlock Holmes of France, the French criminologist Edmond Locard, who founded forensic science, lived from December 13th of 1877 to May 4th of 1966. Every encounter leaves a trace according to his formulation. And it goes on to say that more about the exchange principle in the field of research that examines fingerprints. And I'm not even going to try to pronounce the next word, but basically it was, looking into blood traces and hair traces, hair follicles, those kinds of things. And he was the person that started that. And we're talking back in 1910 was the first recorded conviction of these things. So
long time ago.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that far. Yeah.
Chad, did you hear about that? Miriam got attacked outside the Melbourne org?
No, that's horrible. I didn't. No idea.
I hope they're all right.
I'll have to get hold of her and find out what's going on. Sorry, T. I've been, everything that's been going on here. It's just been crazy. I'll get hold of Miriam, make sure she's okay. Goodness.
Send out our best to the people, please.
Yeah. Well, and Joe, I mean, that'll give you an idea. There have been many times where you've had protesters have been, they've had people come at them. They've had people try to do things to them. Our good friend Pinche Becky, who comes on here all the time, she had a guy literally sit there and do something to himself in front of her on the sidewalk and couldn't get the police to do anything. Yeah, she went to the LA police headquarters, was in there trying to make a report. They refused to take a report from her saying that they're the headquarters, and they don't do that. While she's in there, this guy shows up. What was it, Chad? Like 5 miles away from where they had been? He comes like walking in, and this guy is supposed to be indigent. He's supposed to be homeless. He doesn't have a car, doesn't have a way to get around, but suddenly he shows up at LA police headquarters where she's at. She starts freaking out. And what do? They literally start trying to chastise her for how she's acting and refuse to walk her to her car.
Yeah. Well, that's how it is in life, isn't it? When you believe in something strongly and you know what's right and wrong, and you're the one that's going to come out to be the bad person because the money and the higher ups that are unfortunately a lot of corruption, they're going to go that way. But eventually, I'm a firm believer when you're honest and you fight for the right causes, the end result is always going to be good if you keep fighting as hard as you can for something to believe in. So,
yeah, when you think about DNA testing and those things, who do you think about as being the foremost in the technology world on it? LAPD, FBI, London Metropolitan Police. Who do you think are generally considered some of the forefront organizations in it?
Could you just rephrase that a little bit so I can understand it better, John? What you're asking?
When we generally think about forensics and the way that crime scenes are handled, what are the agencies that we normally look at as being like the top dogs in that world?
That actually get it right, you mean?
Well, yeah, do the most thorough jobs of it.
Well, as much as I want to say the FBI, I don't like them, but I think they're pretty thorough because they got a 96% conviction rate in the federal system. But I don't know much about other countries in forensic. This is all new to me. Like I said, I'm not very knowledgeable in forensic. I'm here learning, and I'm learning a lot tonight. So I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I'm very interested to know what you think, because I respect what you think, or anybody that is really into this forensics that's in the chat room, what they think. As far as the U.S., I would like to believe the FBI are pretty thorough based on conviction rates.
Absolutely. And folks that are watching, put in who you think they are. I'll tell you all in just a moment here. I'll give you all a moment to type your responses in there. But when I first started going through training for detective work with the police department, they showed one particular agency time and time again, and they were considered for a long time to be the benchmark in forensics fields. And when they started talking about it, they would talk about how if there was, say, a homicide scene, they would and it was, say it was outside, they would literally go and dig down 1 foot from below where the ground level was, and they would dig 2 feet around the body, taking everything, insects, dirt, any evidence that was there, and they went back and they checked all of it. And that was the London Metropolitan Police. If you watch those shows, the way that they handle crime scene, you watch the news from over there, they literally show up and you put on a hazmat suit, you put on special booties, all that stuff. A lot of them are in controlled breathing suits because they literally go in and do not want to contaminate the scene at all.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, that's they used to have but the problem is that when you are running that in depth of a kind of forensics team, it's absolutely expensive. So, as times have been going on, especially with the thoughts of defund the police that have been not just a US thing, but they've been worldwide, a lot of these agencies just don't have the money to do it anymore. True. And now we're starting to pay the price on it, because now crime rates are through the roof in almost every major city in the world right now. There is a lack of people who even want to get into law enforcement, much less people who want to get into the forensic side of it. So it's a dying field. And I think it was purposely done.
Is LA considered one of the worst? Because I would hope so. They're not one of the tops, because based on just the O.J. Simpson case with the way they stepped on forensics, I mean, it was terrible.
Well, you got to figure at one point LA was considered the benchmark for law enforcement in the United States.
It was at one time, yes.
Yep. At one point, every police department in the United States looked to the LA Police Department as the top agency in this country. And I mean, there are a lot of things that came through with LA that advanced law enforcement so much in this country. But the fact is that they have allowed their own, I'd have to say it's arrogance, to be their own downfall. So,
and of course, a couple bad cops that don't do their job the right way either. I mean, and then just, I don't know. It's just, that was a pretty bad case.
And one bad detective named Mark Furman.
Of course, I didn't want to say his name. I'm glad you did.
Oh, okay. Sorry, Mark.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, but you think about it, when you think about Scotland Yard. There you go, Articulate John. That's what it was. If they still call it that, I don't even know if they do it anymore. But the thing is that with all these things, these groups, they become so powerful. You're talking about the FBI with such a high conviction rate. Well, you also have to think about the fact they're not going to bring a case unless they are super confident that they're going to win that case. All right. So I
thought Charlie Chan was the best forensic. That was just a joke. I was just trying to put
number one son.
Number one son, yeah.
But the thing is that with like the FBI and stuff like that, if they go in and they lose the case, then that's a black mark on that agent's career.
Yes.
So that's why the FBI can come and talk to you about something today, and then you won't hear anything from them for 2 years, and then you get a phone call. Hey, this is Agent such and such. Chad, you need to turn yourself in on this day. We've held a grand jury. and we're going to go ahead with an indictment on you.
Do you want to elaborate a little bit more the grand jury, or I have or I can if you like.
I absolutely hate grand juries.
Yes. And why is that? It's only
well,
one-sided. The defense
Absolutely.
has no say in the grand jury indictment.
The thing about grand juries is that only the prosecutor gets to bring forth information.
That's right.
And it's not like a regular jury in most cases. Now, there are different kinds of grand juries. You have civil grand juries, which deal with non-criminal things. Then you have actual criminal grand juries, and you have them from county level all the way up to federal level.
Yeah.
But the one thing that happens in all of them on the criminal side is you don't get to fight against things that are said about you. They're going to present what they believe.
Correct.
And then a jury or a panel is going to decide whether or not they think there's enough there to go ahead and hold you, indict you on something.
Right.
And I absolutely hate grand juries because I feel that they are a violation of constitutional rights.
Absolutely. I will agree with you 200% on that one, because in a lot of cases, when they get the indictment, you already got 25% loss right there, because you're going in now. They gave the indictment, and there's a lot of people that could, if both sides spoke, could have been an indictment saved from going to any further. And not everybody. I'm not saying everybody, but I'm saying there's a good percentage of people that could have stopped it in the grand jury if they listened to the defense side. So
yeah, if they'd just been allowed to do what our Constitution says, and that's face your accusers.
Right.
All right. But see, they consider it a non-criminal process of the criminal process.
Yeah.
So
go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
You know how the traffic, like these traffic cameras came on? I beat a traffic red light camera because I went into court and told the judge, he goes, "You plead guilty and pay the fine?" I said, "Absolutely not. I want to go to trial." He goes, "You're going to go to trial?" He said, "Based on what?" I go, "I want to face my accuser." He said, "The accuser's a camera. I want to face my accuser. That's my constitutional right." He looked at the prosecutor. He looked at the lady, his secretary. He looked at me. He says, "I've never had anybody say that. Case dismissed."
Yeah. Well, I'll give you an idea. 9 times out of 10, now say those traffic cameras that were picking you up there in Florida are run by the same company that are running traffic cameras in the city of Middletown, Ohio, where I grew up. All right. You got traffic cameras run by that company out of California.
Right.
And they don't even have someone monitoring things. What happens is they see your vehicle go through after they register what is supposed to be a red light. They can't even confirm that it was an actual red light that you went through.
That's correct.
And
100%.
the city of Middletown, Ohio pulled down all of its cameras because they were facing a class action lawsuit with thousands of litigants.
Yep.
They were going to bankrupt the city.
Yep.
And the city agreed. They settled out of court and they took the cameras down.
Yep.
But that's needs to be happening in a lot of towns.
Yes, that's very true. Yep.
There's also the point of these new license plate readers that are out there, that are cameras that are up, and every car that passes under these, they're running the license plates on these cars.
True. Yep.
Well, they're saying that that's a violation of the constitutional rights for unreasonable search and seizure. The cities and states are saying, well, no, because you don't own your license plate. We own the license plate. We have a right to run it anytime we want. That's going to be a big one that hopefully is going to go to the Supreme Court and get knocked down, because it's a load of crap, in all honesty. So, Chad, what about you? What do you think?
Oh, the license plate thing is tricky for sure. I don't know how I feel about that. It's
well,
very
let's think about it from the Clearwater perspective. They just put up those license plate readers in Clearwater outside of the Scientology buildings. My question is who is getting the information coming back from those readers?
Right.
Is Scientology getting the information of the cars that pass underneath of it? There's a lot of people, like I believe Sarasota Jerry was talking about some really unusual things started happening after that point, and that's why he now parks like a mile away.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on with it, because there's some people that feel that folks who shouldn't be getting the information from the license plate readers are getting that information.
Yeah.
So,
well, it's just like if you're walking down the street and you're not committing no crime, they can't articulate any crime, and you're just minding your business. Cop sees you, you look, You don't dress well. You look dirty. You got a backpack. Give me your ID. You don't have to show him nothing, but they force you to.
You know, that's the thing is that they have to articulate reasonable cause for that.
Absolutely.
And I think that probably one of the best instances where that was actually put to a test was actually the Black Panthers group. And I think it was in either New York or Washington, D.C. where it happened. There were members of the Black Panthers organization walking around carrying shotguns. And they came up, they demanded, ID, they demanded all this stuff, all on the purpose of you're walking down the street with a shotgun. Their point is you cannot prove whether or not this shotgun is loaded. You also, under both federal and state law, it says that we are allowed to open carry in public a firearm. So what crime have we committed? And that was a real case that happened. And they actually shut down the police department there on, trying to hook these guys up for no reason. And, I'm a Second Amendment supporter. I own firearms. I have been a supporter of owning firearms my entire life. But, one of the things that really gets me is these folks who go overboard on it.
Yes.
And, a great example of that, I got a call in. There's a guy walking down the street and he's got a rifle on him.
Yep.
Okay. And he's got a weapon in a holster on his hip. Right. Well, under Michigan law, you can open carry. All right. A handgun in a holster is not considered a concealed handgun. He had both of these clearly out there where they could be seen. I pull up and it was exactly what I thought it was. This guy's walking down the street. He's got his camera up on the contraption there, and he's filming himself while his wife is walking behind him holding a banner that says honk if you support the Second Amendment. So I pull up and and of course he starts going off right off the bat. Oh, here's the cops here to harass me. Yeah. You want my ID? Is that what you're trying to get? I go, no. I said, I got a call. I have to answer. I have to take a look. I don't see any violations. I don't see a problem with it. Right. Well, that wasn't enough for him because he was one of those that he wants to push what's going on. He's trying to get his views for his channel. So he comes over and he thinks he's going to sit there and he's just, you don't know. And I said, look, I just told you, I don't want your identification. I don't need to know your name. I don't need to know anything. I just came by because we got a call and I want to make sure we're good to go. This dummy, because he's out there proving how powerful he is, right. He turns and the muzzle of his gun comes right across my face.
Oh,
I grabbed it and he started, don't touch my property. And I said, whoa, we're beyond that now. And I put my hand on my weapon and I said, you need to get down right now. And I got his information and he was issued for, he was presenting of a muzzle without malice to another human.
Well, I know.
And, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. There was a guy that was at the local Dairy Queen there in town. Guy was about 5'4", weighed maybe 90 sticks. And he's carrying a Colt Python with an 8-inch barrel on it. Ooh. All right. He had to use a thigh strap because it stuck almost all the way down to his kneecap.
Wow, that's a big gun. Wow.
Yeah. I'm sitting there and I'm looking at it. And he's one of those, you got a problem with it? And I go, I'm just wondering how in the world you pull that thing out. It's got to weigh more than you do.
Absolutely.
And he's going off. It's my conscience. I said, I ain't arguing none of that. I'm just wondering, who's so stupid to carry basically a rifle on their hip and think you're going to be able to pull that in any kind of time. And he goes, I bet you I can pull it quicker than yours. I go, I bet you pull that gun on me, I'll beat you with it. All right. And so he's sitting there and he's yelling and screaming, and his girlfriend, who probably had 3 teeth left in her mouth at the time.
She work at the Waffle House?
What's that?
She work at the Waffle House?
Oh, we don't have those in Michigan.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, their DNA tree probably had one branch. I mean, that's what we're looking at. They were just, there's something else. I mean, she could eat corn on the cob through a chain link fence. That's how messed up her cheaters were.
Oh, what a good one. Chung.
Yeah. But she, so he gets what he's getting from the Dairy Queen. He walks over to his car, gets in his car and sits down. Goes to start his car up. I come over, knock on his window. What do you want? I said, by the way, do you have a concealed carry permit? No, I don't. And I don't have to have one. Problem is, the minute you got in your car with that in your holster, you
didn't
just
know the
committed a
laws.
felony.
Good for you.
I mean, that's the thing. I could have ruined his life, honestly.
Yes, you could have.
But he needed to know that no matter how he felt about the police, it's
Right.
not our job just to screw people's lives over.
Correct. But
And
it goes to show you that when a guy's out there acting tough like that, and he's trying to buck the police and try to get a little views to show how I could humiliate these cops. Well, I hope you know every city ordinance, every law behind every step when you walk with that weapon. Like you said, he got in the car. Now you got him. You see, so they don't think before they go out. They won before they started what they're doing. So.
And that's the thing is when I first started, the old guys were telling me, they said there isn't a car that's on the road you can't find a violation for.
Right.
You don't have to make them up. You don't have to bust a taillight.
Right.
Every car is going to have a violation on it somewhere.
Absolutely.
There isn't a person walking down the street that you can't find a reason for.
Right.
I mean, if we really want, I was glad when, and I know it did a lot in knocking down crime in New York, was when they stopped the stop and frisk, when they would just stop people on the street and pat them down. I know it stopped a lot of crime, but the fact is that was a violation of people's constitutional rights.
Yeah, I agree. Do you think the police are in a losing battle for years upcoming? Do you think there's any justifications on their part that they're going to get more respect, or is the people that do these shows that are doing it wrong, that give misinformation to the public, and they think that they can rule police? Because there's guys on there that really make me the police walk of shame. Look at them all walk away from us, And now in their defense, there are a lot of things that they don't teach in the academies, and a lot of cities will tell you. A lot of experienced cops will tell a rookie cop, forget what you learned in the academy. It's how you survive on the street. That's a common thing back in the day. They used to tell rookie cops,
right.
But you got to take your training and you got to use it at some point. And like you said, you were one of those. I would have liked you if I was in your town and you were a cop. I would appreciate you because you were thorough. You took the time to study everything and you didn't make a rash decision. I understand that there's some cops that are just out there because they're out there for the wrong reasons, and there's criminals out there for the wrong reasons. But if you be more like a guy like John and be thorough, I think we're going to have a better police departments all over the world.
Well,
and
here's the
better
thing.
people to respond to that.
Here's the thing is that there are police officers like me. The majority of police officers are in the same, they just have different attitudes. Some of them are assholes, some of them are too nice, but the majority of cops are doing the job right.
Right.
The problem is that they will never get the recognition for what they do.
Right.
And so as you watch and you see the emergence of all these channels, all these clips, things like that, that's why when you see a video of a police officer and it's not coming from the police or the prosecutor, you'll never hear police or the chiefs or the sheriffs or the prosecutors comment on those. Their response is, we're going to wait until we watch the actual video.
And that's a smart way to go about it. Get the investigation done thoroughly, then you can make comment and go to the press and talk about it. I agree with that 100%.
And then the reason for that is because people realize if they edit things just a little bit, they can turn around and they can make it look like the cop was 100% in the wrong. And there's a lot of cases where you have officers that were doing the right thing, did it the right way, but because someone edited video of what happened, it looked like they were in the wrong. That makes it to the news. What doesn't make it to the news is the real video that shows the officer doing the right thing.
Correct.
When you were talking about how they tell you, forget what you learned in the academy. When the way it worked with us, is when, here in Michigan, the way we handled it, and it's the way most departments handle it. The police academy is like apprentice beginning training for a skilled labor. Say if you're going to work for like Detroit Edison, and you're going to be part of the electric company there, working the lines and all that. They send you down to Ohio for a 2-week school where you learn how to climb the poles, learn, just the very basic things. It's when you get back to where you're at and the union starts sending you out on jobs, you start working as an apprentice, and you're going from that point to where you're learning how to do it. That's how it works with law enforcement. You
Right.
get in the academy, they shove the laws, the Constitution, they shove all these things that pertain to law enforcement on the very basic level. They want you to be able to recite section 371 is this, or this section means that. And they're going to go at it with that premise because they want you to have those laws instilled in you, with the whole knowledge that once you get to your department, that's when your real training is going to start.
Right.
Because I can train you 1,000 different ways in the academy on how to handle a barricaded gunman. Till you're there and you feel that tension, you feel that adrenaline going on.
Right.
You don't know what it's like. When you show up at a house and a woman comes running out, almost stark naked, bleeding like a stuck pig, because her significant other has just beaten her within an inch of her life. You don't know how that's going to feel until you get there and actually experience that in real life.
Right. Very true.
Those are the things. And that's why they say, forget what they teach you in the academy, because that's all fine and good. What you need to know is you need to know what the laws are, what your rights are, what your authority as a police officer is.
Right.
The rest of it, you're going to learn right here on the streets.
Yeah, the streets are where you're going to learn it all. The heart of it. That's true.
Absolutely. Let's see. Oh, okay. I was reading one of the comments there. So, all right, Chad, you've been talking so daggone much.
Yes, Chad, I can't take it.
My ears are bleeding, dude. What are your thoughts?
Well, I'm enjoying this, guys. It's something that, I don't know that much about, and I do like learning. I do like watching the shows about the forensic stuff and learning a lot about it.
And I'm really rude, Chad. I love learning as I get older has been wonderful. When I was younger, I didn't care so much about certain things to learn. You think you know everything when you're 30 years old. You're strong. You got everything going for you. You got the woman. You got the kids.
Everything at 16, man.
Exactly. Same way with me. But when you get older to an age and you're a grandpa and you say, God, and you start absorbing knowledge of every aspect of everything. It's fascinating for me, and I try to get as much knowledge as I can on everything every day. So
that's why they say youth is wasted on the young.
It's very true, very true.
I mean, if we had the knowledge, the wisdom, and the desire to learn like we do now, in our later years when we were young, oh my gosh, the sky would be the limits.
You ain't lying about that. Yeah. I hear my grandfather rolling over right now, telling me, "I told you, knucklehead, to listen to me."
Yeah, even my father was a horribly brutal man. He beat the hell out of me on a regular basis. But, to this day, I sit and I think about things that he said about society, about politics, about technology. And I'm like, this guy was telling the truth 20 years ago, and I just wish that, more of us had paid attention to some of the things that those folks were saying back then.
Absolutely. I definitely would agree with that statement. Very true.
Chad, what you got coming up this week?
Let's see. My main thing is I'm going to be watching Joey C's Uncle Rocco show Tuesday night.
That's
there
it.
You go. Let's see, Joey, what do you got coming up?
Probably I got definitely a stream late tonight. I'll be doing my chit chat with the night chat with the chatters. I do it. Try to do it once a week where I get it's me in the chat room and we just have fun. And Monday, we did change now. Our Monday through Friday morning show, which went at 9:05, is moved to 11 o'clock now. Permanent. That's going to be our permanent spot. It's Lou and I both don't like to get up too early. We're not early risers, so Lou's a little cranky at 9 o'clock in the morning, and I'm hoping that's going to adjust him to be already, and maybe I don't think he'll be too much nicer because I'm not a nice guy, but maybe just give him a little bump to be a little nicer. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And this Halloween we're doing a busting balls where I got to eat something that I don't like. Where Lou makes me eat things I don't like, and people got to send in super chats for every bite I take. And I'm gonna tell you right now, I love anchovies, so haha, you can't do that one. So, but yeah,
Limburger cheese it is.
Yeah.
I don't know what Lou's got. He's got my list of things I don't like. I don't know what he's going to be throwing at me on Wednesday night. He waits to the last minute so I can't prepare for it. So he wants me to throw up on air and get sick, So,
I hear Chad's got a really great gag reflex, so he wouldn't have to.
Yeah. I had to eat spam. I had to eat spam for an hour and a half on one of my shows, and I was like, it was fine. Okay when it was really hot, but the fans waited till it cooled down to garbage, and then they would start sending in the super to eat, and I was gagging and barfing, man. I couldn't wait to get the day over with.
I got one that's gonna be coming up pretty soon here with one of my kids. They're gonna be picking out different fruits and foods from around the world for that.
Nice. That's nice. That's good. Wow. I'll watch that. Definitely watch that one.
Oh, it's going to be brutal because they know that there are some things they won't. I mean, it's like people go, oh yeah, I want you to eat durian. I love durian from Thailand. Yeah. It's to smell, to give you an idea. It's not allowed on the subway or in cabs or within stores that don't sell it. You're not allowed to have it because of the way it smells. And the thing about it is the first few times you eat it, it has this really strong ammonia flavor to it.
Yeah.
And I just remember the first time I tried it and I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, that doesn't taste bad. What the? And it took me about a half hour to get over that flavor. I downed like 3 or 4 coffees trying to get that taste out of my mouth.
Yeah. I remember now what we're doing Halloween. He did mention it to me for Halloween being as Halloween. Somebody had suggested, one of our fans, I think it was Vito Bandito, told us to get the jelly beans that taste very badly, the different types we're getting the pack of jelly beans with all the nasty. I mean, they got some names for some of these jelly beans that are horrible, and it's guaranteed to probably get you like the hottest piece of jelly bean, the smelliest jelly bean or whatever. I've got to do that on Thursday, Halloween. I have to eat this bag of jelly beans. Each jelly bean, if they pay for it, I have to eat it. And I probably am going to be very upset by the end of the day when that show happens. 3:00 on Thursday, 31st.
What's this with Sean? Bread, cheese, and tomato.
I don't know. What are you talking about? Joey, bread, cheese, and tomato. I don't know. Or the gallon of milk trick. Can you drink a gallon of milk in so much time without forget about it?
Yeah.
Tablespoon of cinnamon, forget about it. They ain't lucking me into that.
I tell you what, I know a guy who I literally watched him take a big wooden spoonful of cinnamon, throw it in his mouth, chew it up, and swallow it. Yeah. I'm just like, how in the world did you even do that?
It's impossible, almost impossible.
Well, what about hot stuff?
Yeah, I don't like. I got bad stomach. I've had a weak stomach my whole life. So, but these jelly beans, I have to get hot jelly beans. I'm willing to do it because it's I'm going to do it, but I don't know if I'll be in the hospital that night, but we'll see,
Oh man. Articulate John, there's a guy I watch, his channel's called Ordinary Sausage, and he's hilarious. He, literally his viewers send him in ingredients to make sausage out of.
Oh,
he's got one that apparently it is the most horrible thing in the world, and it's fermented Greenland shark.
Oh.
I believe they call it harcool. And he made sausage out of it. And he's like, my house is going to smell like pee forever now. So yeah, it was, harcool. Hakarl. Harcool.
Harcool, okay. Yeah, I mean, they were talking about the fans where we wanted to do that, like that one show where you go out in the wild and you eat all kinds of things, and and I'm like, I'm not eating nothing I don't know that could be edible. I'm not eating no rat head. I'm not eating no cockroaches. I'm not eating none of that stuff. They just don't forget about it.
Dude, I'm hillbilly. All that stuff's I ain't eating no rats.
Some and all that stuff. On the whole way,
I've had possum. I've had squirrel. Lord. I've had raccoon.
Sure.
All that. That you learn from. When you grow up with people that are so poor they can't afford to go to the store, you learn to eat what you can and you hunt for what you can.
I knew a family like that in Chicago. They ate mayonnaise sandwich or a tomato by itself sandwich. That's all they had in the house. And And I'm like, man, I had to go out and get them something to eat. They go, well, when you ain't got nothing, you'll eat that. I promise you, when you're that hungry, you know. And
Yeah.
it saddened me to see that, you know. So
What time you going live Tuesday night?
Tuesday night, when we the first Uncle Rocco show we did at 8:45. People thought it was a little bit late. Now we put it to 8:15 every Tuesday.
Okay.
And because see the guy that I'm talking about, the Uncle Rocco show made it over because of Uncle Weebly and Rocco. He wants to do right after that he's going to do a show that where he recaps basically the Uncle Rocco show. So he's trying to get me to move to Mondays so he has a full day to prepare for his show, which is
okay.
you know, and I'm in agreement with it. But I don't know. I don't want to do Mondays, Wednesdays, or Fridays because it's a lot of traffic in the Dabbleverse with shows at that time frame.
Yeah.
And I want everybody's attention because I want to draw as many people to us with the less traffic for other shows. It's just a smart business choice. You know what I'm saying? If you got popular shows on and you're starting to get popular, you're pulling too many. You can pull people away from people. They can pull people away. And I just want I want a fair shot at getting to people because they want to be there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's why I started doing mine. You know, I threw Saturdays in there. That was generally the day I didn't do it, but I do you know Monday through Sunday through Friday, 8 o'clock because everybody else was doing morning times,
right?
And I wanted to do something at a different time. So, all right, so you guys got those coming up, and let me throw the.
And we will have Poe on this week. We're going to have Poe as a guest on the morning show this week. One of the days this week.
Yeah, just let me know what day and get me the link. Tomorrow, as per my admin mod, Laura Waldy, she wanted me to do something. So tomorrow I'm going to be doing international travel, talking about what it's like, what the things you need to check out when you're doing international traveling. It's not one of those things that you just jump in and just, you know, to do it blindly. You have to do some preparation for these things.
What time is that, John?
That's gonna be 8 p.m. tomorrow night.
Monday night. Okay, good.
And now here's the thing. I had a bunch of people, including Doug, who's a good longtime member of the channel here. A lot of people really liked the conversation the other night. So I am going to do Tuesday night. I'm going to be doing a live about the squared circle, the not so glamorous world of professional wrestling. What it was like growing up around professional wrestlers. My father was a professional wrestler, knew a lot of the big time people in the professional wrestling world. I eventually became a professional wrestler doing some of the bigger shows, traveling international. That's what got me hooked on traveling internationally.
I see that. Interesting.
But, you know, people don't realize just how hardcore that world is, how hard it is on families, how hard it is on your body.
Yes.
And the glitz and glamour of it. Yeah. It's awesome that if you can become someone like The Rock or somebody like that, where you are going to be, you know, in front of thousands of people a night. It's a whole lot different when you're making $100,000, $200,000, millions of dollars a year compared to the guys who were doing it in the high school gymnasium in front of 20 people, where they're lucky if they get, you know, if they got bottled water for them.
Yes.
You know.
I do got one question, John. I just looked at my channel because I stream up. We stream off yours. I guess I got a couple super chats. If you don't mind, if I read them for my fans, can you pull them up? I can't pull them up in the StreamYard. Your StreamYard.
Let me see here if I can find them real quick here. I was being careful with them because I didn't know if they were stuff.
Well, I know, but I mean, the rule of thumb is, but YouTube policy, unless they're really belligerent, you have to give them at least read them. You know, if they're too bad, I won't read them. But you know, I'm sure it's probably something that busts my chops a little bit. So.
And that's the thing. If they want to do that, we will also want to make sure we say howdy to Jen Hack, who's become a new member of the channel. Thank you, Jen. All right, so I'll get to the first one there. There you go.
Yo Menendez, thank you for the $4.99. My favorite show, 5.0 Poe and the Fat Lion Ho. I am a Fat Lion Ho. Thank you very much.
And then he came back with.
Yo Menendez again. Thank you for the $4.99. You could have sent me about 10 of these. I'd have been happy. Little known fact: Joey C had a plastic surgery widen his pooper shoe before going into prison. That's how he survived. Exactly. I had my colon removed already for prison. Thank you very much. Next.
There you go.
Nice.
That's awesome. So, all right, folks. So thank you so much for being here with us tonight. Catch us next week. We're going to have some more interesting things to be talking about on the Three Can Keep a Secret podcast here. Chad, any closing thoughts?
Oh, it was, another terrific episode. I love doing these, Poe.
Excellent. And Joey,
I gotta say this was a good episode. I enjoyed because I didn't know too much knowledge that I did before I started the show. I got a lot more understanding about forensic science now, and I'm very appreciative of that. So thank you for like I said, always having me as a co-host. I want to thank the fans most definitely for being here. You got a great group of people that are, obviously not Dabbleverse people that are very interesting. It's nice to see them act accordingly and be responsible. With the Dabbleverse, they're going to come at your throat as hard as they can. So it's interesting.
See, we had the problem in the anti-Scientology world. We have trolls in there too.
Yeah,
and we've built a really good community of people that support each other, are respectful, that kind of stuff. So yeah, it's been a little bit of a learning curve for some of them, having some of the Dabbleverse in here and how how things are talked about and how things are done. But they're all.
I want to say since he's here, John,
What's that?
one of my true good friends, and because of my equipment sounding so great tonight, on my wish list, Mike Shitty Internet Provider provided me with all the new tools that I have today, and I want to thank him and tell him how much I love him for that. You made my life a lot easier, Mike. I know you asked me you didn't want to be praised about this, but let me tell you something. You do a lot for me, pal, and I just know that I think of you every moment that I'm awake. Thank you.
Absolutely, that's awesome. I tell you what, having folks that come to your channel that support you and are they're trying to be there and help you out and want you to do better. That's the awesome stuff. So is that a new mic you got?
No, I got a new soundboard with the board, with all the toys and bells, all the little stuff in it, and I got a new cords properly. Mine was bad that go into the box to operate the mic, and I got a new 25 plug-in USB box that I can now have all my stuff plugged in the right way and without no problems. Where I don't rip no cords out. It's all right at my disposal. And I got two more things coming. I won't indulge that till they arrive. But he bought me like 5 items off my list, and I don't know what to say to him. He's always every morning like clockwork. He reminds me before the morning, make sure you take your medicine and drink a lot of water today. Never misses a beat.
That's amazing. That's great.
Amazing guy.
Just sending a message to one of the folks there in chat. But as always, folks, thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you. Hopefully tonight, in my researching for tonight's live, there were things that I learned. I mean, the fact is you're never too old to learn.
That's very true.
The pursuit of knowledge, all it does is help you out and further yourself in life.
Can you help me out? I'm in a doghouse with shaving my head. I'm in very big trouble.
Ain't nothing I can do with that one, brother. You need to get some of that spray on stuff.
She mad. Woo.
Yeah, they love that. Yeah, my wife's like, you went from a full head of hair to now the sides of your head are just skin. I'm like, yeah, well, guess what? I can wash my head with a bar of soap and I ain't got to worry about none of that other crap. So, 30 some years wearing a flat top with high and tight.
Yeah.
For me, I can't stand having my hair longer than it is right now. It's actually driving me nuts at this point. So
yeah, it's a tradition for me. The very first time I shaved my head, I was 14 years old when my grandfather passed away. And right before I went to the funeral, I went with a bald head, and my grandmother almost collapsed in front of the funeral home when she saw me. It's been a tradition. I do it every year at some point because 42 years later, I still think they're in the room with me, and I missed them that much. And it was a very hard death for me when my grandfather passed away. So,
and Mike, I think Chad's rinse isn't showing because he's one of the actual people linked in that is broadcasting this. When he comes in regular time and he's not someone who's broadcasting it simultaneously, the wrench will be at his name. But right now he's considered a presenter under YouTube or StreamYard. So, all right, folks, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Keep an eye. I put the links up there. Check out Joey's channel. Make sure you're checking out the stuff he's putting out there. He puts out some real good content. Chad, as always, he's going to make you split your sides with some of the stuff he does. He does some of the silliest, funniest stuff that there is, and we love him for that. As always, I appreciate each and every one of you. I hope that you came away tonight with a better knowledge of things than you did when you first clicked on the show, and that you also found it entertaining. And as always, folks, life is short. You get one shot. Make it count.